Further questions and issues arose with Lue Elizondo's role with ATIP. In hundreds of media reports, Elizondo is credited as the director of ATIP. Media outlets also phrased it as he ran the program, or he was in charge of the program. And Elizondo, without doubt, is the face of this whole story now. But the Pentagon has released statements stating Mr. Elizondo had no responsibilities with ATIP. And this is a statement the Pentagon has doubled down on, and they're not budging. Saying,
the New York Times article in December 2017 mistakenly used that acronym ATIP, and they mistakenly assigned Lue Elizondo to be head of this program. And that was a mistake in reporting by the New York Times.
But despite the program being shut down, Lue Elizondo, who had become interested in the UFO aspects of OSAP, claims he kept the effort going at the Pentagon. According to James Lakatsky, Elizondo adopted and appropriated the name ATIP to describe this new, small, unfunded, and unofficial effort. Lakatsky has only done a handful of interviews since going public. Here's a revelatory clip from one of them on the Coast to Coast radio show where he specifically addresses this.
The ATIP name was created for a letter that Senator Reid sent in trying to establish a DOD SAP for our program for various reasons. And Lou used that name when and I guess it had to be in the time frame of 2012, and he used the name ATIP. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's fine. But there was a difference between the two programs. Ours had $22 million in funding, his had zero. But he did his thing, we did ours. But I can say that we were the only game in town.
In the 221-page book about the Pentagon UFO program, Elizondo appears one time. That's a bit strange, right? One time. At a 2009 dinner, sitting at a table with members of OSAP and BASS, where the authors claim he was telling war stories about his psychic powers. That's it. Well, Elizondo himself has stated multiple times on the record that he had nothing to do with OSAP, including this emphatic tweet, which says, "It's been brought to my attention that despite my constant assertion in the media about my non-involvement in OSAP, some are under the false impression that I was part of it. For the record, again and again, I was not part of OSAP." Elizondo instead says he was in charge of the Pentagon's ATIP program, which I think we've established probably didn't even exist. Insiders say it was not an official program. It was a completely separate small initiative. A small unofficial effort. Not a program as the P in ATIP suggests, but more in his spare time, when his normal day job allowed, he looked for UFOs. There are two pieces of documentation that further supports this. One is an email from the year 2020, released via the Freedom of Information Act to John Greenwald. In it, Elizondo is challenging the Pentagon press office regarding their statements denying his role with ATIP. Elizondo concedes that his ATIP could be defined more as simply an activity versus an actual program. The second is an annual Pentagon evaluation of Elizondo from the year 2016. It outlines all his officially assigned responsibilities at the Pentagon, none of which have to do with UFOs, or anything called ATIP. So with all that in mind, let's look again at the Pentagon's official statement regarding Elizondo. Lue Elizondo said he had nothing to do with OSAP. Nothing to do with the werewolves and ghosts and goblins. Nothing to do with OSAP. However, in May 2021, Elizondo filed a complaint with the Department of Defense Inspector General's office. Written in his own words, signed with his signature, Elizondo's complaint accuses some at the Pentagon of smearing his reputation by releasing statements denying his involvement as director of ATIP. In his complaint, which I obtained a copy of, he outlines, in detail, each and every role he claims to have had from 2008 to 2017. In 2008, he says he joined James Lakatsky on OSAP. His role was, in his words, OSAP's Chief of Counterintelligence and Security. From 2008 to 2010, Elizondo describes his various duties with OSAP, including reviewing incoming reports from BAS. In April 2010, he writes, Dr. Lakatsky approached me and asked if I would consider assuming the role of OSAP and ATIP director. And in May 2010, he says his new role was director for ATIP and OSAP.